let me introduce you to a very interesting person, Johnny FD. Hello.
Hello.
We both live in Ukraine, and there is much more things in common as well as different between us. So please, Johnny, could you tell a little bit words about yourself? What do you do? And then we'll develop it from there, talking about the events in Ukraine.
Johnny, I grew up in California, but I moved to Ukraine after 10 years of being a nomad, traveling around. And as of about, actually almost 1 year exactly before the war, I decided to buy property in Ukraine, and I've been living there full time since.
That's incredible, right? As I understand, you told you were born in San Francisco, like the place where most people in the world like dream of to moving, and actually many Ukrainians who work in tech, they go there, they live, they make it new home. But somehow, like something pushed you to go out. First of all, you traveled like for over a decade being a digital nomad. Which places have you lived before, and why did you decide eventually to move to Ukraine?
Yeah, you're right. A lot of people, dream about moving to California specifically. I think it was a great place to live, and I'm happy I grew up there. But after 20 years of being there, I thought I wanted to see something different. So I lived in Thailand for many years. I lived in Sri Lanka for over a year. I lived in Portugal, Mexico, in Spain. Like I've lived in many different places. But Ukraine had like a special connection for me, and it was somewhere that I saw a bright future for. It definitely wasn't a perfect place. There's no such thing as a perfect place, but I saw a lot of potential in the right direction from when I first visited in 2016 to 2021 when I bought my apartment. I saw how much it changed in a positive direction.
What are the bullet points? Like what would you outline in this sense? Why I'm asking, because definitely there are so many interesting places around the world, and as a digital nomad by myself, and I stayed in Thailand for quite some time, and you did. I did Mexico, India. All of those places have pros and cons. So in your opinion, what are pros for Ukraine and what are cons in terms of living as an expat?
So yeah, as an expat, at least from my point of view as an American, the city itself, like both Kyiv but also Kharkiv, where I was also living and where I also bought an apartment, they just got nicer and nicer. And just in the last 5 years, more parks were developed, and they were beautiful. Right in the city center, way more coffee shops, new gyms opened, new restaurants opened. It just like already, Ukraine was nice, but it just got better and better and better. While even in California, it kind of started to slow down. Like a lot of businesses were starting to close due to like politics or high rent prices or the COVID shutdowns, things like that. So I actually felt like California was kind of almost getting worse, while Ukraine was growing in a very rapid sense. Like every month there would be a new amazing restaurant opening or a coffee shop opening within walking distance from my place. And even in terms of like politics, in the last 5 years, I feel like I saw the difference. The amount of freedom and actual like pure democracy has improved, drastically in Ukraine, since 2014 especially. But even since 2016 when I was there, I just felt like there was more and more freedom, and just really felt like everything was getting more fair, and I saw a bright future. While in California, it was going the opposite direction, where there was more division, there was more hate on the left and right, and there was more conflicts, and I was very happy to see where Ukraine was going.
It's very interesting to hear those messages from you. Being as a native Ukrainian, I always felt this is my home, and even though I had the chance to live anywhere in the world, I visited over than 120 countries, people thought like, Orest, like what keeps you in Ukraine? But those things that you just told, yes, and still being my motherland, like put a projection for me that like definitely this is my home, this is where I want to develop the future, this is where I want to raise my kids. And actually I was and I am still building so many plans in Ukraine. But however, life is something that puts in between your plans, obviously, and not long time ago, Russia invaded Ukraine, which affected the life of everybody, not only in Ukraine, but is also shaping the future of our world. So, at which circumstances the war caught you?
even 8 months before the war actually happened, and I'm talking about the invasion in February 24th, 2022. I was getting messages almost every day from people, either family or people I didn't know, saying, get out, because the war, Russia's going to invade. And that already started to affect my life. It started to affect the Ukrainian economy. It started to affect tourism. It started to affect many things, But I really believed, up until the day that Putin actually started bombing and attacking Kyiv, that there was no way he was crazy enough to do it. Because I really believe that logically it didn't make sense for him to do it. He would destroy his own economy. He would destroy the livelihoods of all the people in Russia itself and worldwide. The chances of him actually taking and keeping Ukraine was so low that I was firmly believed that there was no possible way he would do it. And then on February 24th, when the bombs dropped and the tanks started coming close to Kyiv, that's when I realized, oh my God, it's life will never be the same again.
Wow, what's interesting? Like, I had actually a different perspective. Since the last few years, I actually anticipated the war to start, and many people were telling like, I cannot believe it, this cannot possibly, yes. But if we roll back 8 years ago and we realize that the Crimea was annexed, that the war in Donbass started, invasion happened, which was also something unimaginable before, then you can open your mind a little bit and realize that in this world, absolutely everything is possible. This is from the emotional part. From the logical part, if you look at the map of this region of the world before the invasion, for me it was pretty clear it has to be some kind of resolution for that. And you have Transnistria in the west, you have Kaliningrad in the middle of the Baltics, you've got all this like Donbass, which is not under control, Abkhazia, South Ossetia. Like, it would not be able to hold it for such status quo for any time. So when the tension started to build up for a couple of months before, and the entire world was witnessing this, to me it was just the matter of question when, not if, to have the spark and start the war.
Yeah.
Which, like, similar situation happened, for example, during the World War I, when there was this killing of Franz Ferdinand. Actually, in Bosnia, in the nearby country, we are now guys in Croatia, and we'll go back to that. So what really struck me is that there was no such kind of provocation which would initiate the war. They simply invaded. And knowing that the war is about to come, I was traveling, I'm a nomad, 1 week before the invasion started, I was in Karabakh, which is the conflict area in the south of Caucasus. I've seen destroyed cities, but I never could even imagine that similar situation would be in my own country. So actually 4 days before the invasion itself, I boarded the plane in Baku to Kyiv in order to participate in our resistance. And this was very like clear intentional decision to me, because in 2014 I was in Mexico when revolution happened in Ukraine, and I was witnessing everything on a distance, and I felt really bad, helpless, anxious all the time. So this year, when I thought like, I'm not going to miss the war and I will do everything possible to help our country win. Johnny, you are like the big advocate of Ukraine. You have an amazing, huge YouTube channel, and thank you for that. It's a great job. Guys, please subscribe next to it, Johnny FD. And you are showing everything what's happening in Ukraine. You are back after the initial invasion. You have an apartment. Like, can you describe a little bit what is happening now in Ukraine?
Yeah, so I initially left Ukraine the day after the bombings on February 25th, alongside probably 2 million other displaced people. And I had that same kind of feeling. Like, I felt like I was far away in safety. I was in Hungary, in Budapest. And I felt like anxious every day, thinking like, what can I do? What more can I do? And I knew that, joining the army wasn't an option for me, because I have no military training. I'm not like in the best shape right now either, and I don't speak the language very well.
They would not take you either.
Yeah, I know.
So because I'm in touch with a few people who are in the Foreign Legion, they only accept well-trained soldiers there.
Yeah, and even though I'm now a resident of Ukraine, I'm not a citizen, so I wouldn't be able to join even if I wanted to. So I knew by staying inside Ukraine, yes, I can show what's happening in the center of Kyiv, but at the same time, I wouldn't be able to go anywhere, significant. I'm not a certified journalist, and I was thinking, what can I do? What can I do? And I thought, okay, let me show what's happening at the refugee camps on the other side of the border. What happens to people, after they are able to flee? Let me help raise money. Let me help find good causes. And that worked really well for the first couple of weeks. People were really interested, and we raised, a decent amount of money, maybe even $10,000. But then I noticed that my audience got bored. They stopped watching. Will Smith slapped Chris Rock, and then some other things happened, and I realized my audience, which is mostly a travel and kind of digital nomad audience, they wanted that again. So I found the cheapest flight to somewhere interesting, which was Greece for $13. I went there, had a cheap Airbnb in the worst part of the city, and made some videos there. But what I did was I integrated what was happening in Ukraine to almost kind of trick people into watching, a video about traveling in Greece or like these bad neighborhoods in Greece, and then bringing it back into the fundraising for Ukraine, and that worked for a while. But then I realized, okay, I need to go back to Ukraine now, and that's when I decided. I went there and I made a 10 video series showing what was happening in Kyiv itself, in Lviv, but also in Irpin, Bucha, Gostomel, even Chernihiv Oblast, like all these places that actually were affected. And that really bumped it up. Like in total now I've been able to raise, I think it was $70,000 already. It was like 2 million hryvnia. And that has been gone directly to people in small organizations that are actually in Ukraine, and not to like the Red Cross or like UNICEF or these big places where they're using the money for like private jets and things like that.
Great. It feels like we are kind of working side by side, because when I was questioning myself, how can I apply my skills, my superpowers in this resistance? What I have done is I simply changed my prior blogging activity and experience and all the competence of my team that was in the digital marketing, in ads, in creating content. I'm actually, let's say, relatively known Ukrainian blogger. So for the last 10 years, I was blogging in Ukrainian language, building the audience of over 100,000 people. But at one moment, I realized, okay, there is pretty good access within Ukraine to information, but you need to keep the message up to the entire world. And we started our new English language channels, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, in order to deliver similar message to you. I'm doing my best to reach and to improve all the time, and you serve as also the inspiration for me. So guys, if you didn't subscribe to my profiles by any reason, below the video there will be links, please do so. And from the day one of war, I started to document everything was happening in Lviv, because I was based there, was happening to my life. I visited Kyiv a few days after the retreat of the Russian army from its outskirts. You were asking me, what's the situation down there? I rode the road from Lviv to Kyiv. The next day it was reopened after the occupation, and so forth. So definitely, guys, this is important. The media front is very important, and this is the unique war in the sense that it's not only about bullets and tanks, but it's also about a bunch of other activities. There is a cyber army in Ukraine that is hacking the websites of Russian government stuff. Yes, there is tremendous logistic way. And this is this war is the single most important historical event after the World War II in our modern history.
Yeah.
And many people tell, there are so many wars around the world happening in Yemen, in Afghanistan, in Syria, in Karabakh, what have been. Why do everybody's talking only about Ukraine? What are your thoughts about this? Why Ukrainian war is so well represented globally?
For me, personally, it affected me because I was actually living there. I have never been to any of the countries you mentioned. I've never been to Palestine or Israel, so I have no connection to it. I think people that live in those countries should definitely cover it, and they should talk about it. And if you have any connection to it, then you should talk about it as well. But we can't expect everyone to talk, to learn about every single country in the world for every conflict. I'm sure many places in Africa are having conflicts now. Sri Lanka is having their issues, and For example, for Sri Lanka, I did share on my social media, and I did mention them because I know they're having a economical crisis. But the difference is, in Ukraine, it's first off so close to, Western Europe, and it's like, even though, Russians before they unfairly called Ukraine borderland, it now actually has become this borderland where it's like a shield. Ukraine is a shield for the West, for democracy, for the free world, basically. If we let Russia just like take Ukraine, what will they take next? Then they're right on the border of Poland and Hungary and all these different EU and NATO countries. So it does affect us, even as far as the US, but definitely everybody in the EU. So that's why it's important.
Of course, this makes sense, and thank you for your points. I would like to add here a few other reasons to have a more clear picture to the listener. So, first of all, this is a massive conflict, right? We are talking about almost 200 million people directly involved who are citizens of Ukraine and Russia. This is tremendous, right? Secondly, this is like, it's one of those unique situations when the picture is clear. There is one evil country which is invading completely innocent another. It's not like a local ethnical conflict or like some internal stuff. It's like clear one country aggressively invading another, and that's why we witness the situation when the entire world is united in one matter. Third, guys, first time in the military history such high-tech technology being like involved. You have all these like in-law, you have the javelin, like small pieces of armor that cost a fraction of the targets that they're able to hit. All this like online technology is happening here. So basically all those factors, including a few more, make Ukrainian war widespread, and this is the conflict which actually will shape the future of the world. And we see that, now this is happening, and we are witnessing similar life-changing situations that our grandparents did during the World War II. Wow. So I think that we will meet in Ukraine. Last time you kind of passed quickly through Lviv. I was expecting you spend more time, but you're always welcome in my city. And now we are in Croatia, right? So we are in Croatia. What we are doing here, Johnny, can you tell, please?
The main reason I came was because we're having a conference for digital nomads, people who work online, people from all different countries. I think there's 44 different nationalities here, and there's almost 300 nomads. And I was invited as a speaker actually a few months ago, so I had already committed to come here. And originally my talk was going to be about something else, but then I realized, I need to talk about what's happening in Ukraine. I need to spread this awareness to other people from around the world. And you had mentioned earlier that within Ukraine, everyone knows the war is happening. Everyone knows what Russia is doing. But in the English-speaking world, where Ukraine needs the support from, there's still misinformation. And honestly, I was even shocked that the people here who are very well-traveled, very well-read, very intelligent, business owners, even a lot of them were asking, these questions. I thought, really? Like, you really read that and you thought, Putin is somehow, justified to attack a peaceful country and kill these people? So my talk was really showing, what really happened, what it was like, and also the story of, one person who was there to witness it, and also how it changed my life, but also how being, remote and digital has, helped me not only survive myself financially and, emotionally, but also to be able to use those skills I learned as a marketer, as a entrepreneur, to now fundraise and collect, money and be able to, direct it towards good uses.
Actually, Johnny had an amazing talk. This was one of the entry opening speeches on the conferences, and what I noticed is that Ukrainian topic is the central one on our event. Yes, because nomads are the futurists. They are traveling and they understand how important it is to be aware of things. Even many details has to be told. So I was also invited here as the representative of Ukrainians staying in Ukraine during the war, and I will have one of the last final talks. It's also amazing to see that the community is really willing to support, and we are going to do the charity dinner to support an orphanage in Ukraine where children are displaced who lost their parents from the east to the west. Let's see how it goes, and I'm looking forward that we will have a good result. Also, we were recording Johnny's talk, so I think you will publish this on your channel, hopefully, and because please check it. Entire 30 minutes is a pure great information, and for you it would be logistically relatively easy to come here, right? You just go to Poland. As a foreigner, you're free to travel, but for me it affected me my basic digital nomads principles. Being in Ukraine, I had to ask for the special permission from the Ministry of Defense to be able to travel, and this was a project on itself. But together with this conference, guys, I also visited the conference in Dubrovnik, where I met even the VP of the city mayor. We were establishing some relations. I drove by car with my wife here, and we had meetings with NGOs relating to refugees in Italy, establishing further cooperation with the medical supplies. And now my car is fully stuffed with humanitarian aid for our soldiers. I'll bring this back to Ukraine after the event. So we will continue showcasting information about what's happening in Ukraine. We will participate, guys, in this media war. So definitely, please stay aware, continue supporting Ukraine, and I everybody really hope this to finish as soon as possible. But there are so many uncertainties. Yes, the war is still happening. Even though the northern Ukraine is liberated, in the east still people don't know how it will develop. And Johnny also directly is connected to this because you got an apartment in Kharkiv. Do you know what's happening in Kharkiv, and particularly with your apartment at the moment?
Yeah, it's hard because my apartment is in the center of Kharkiv, right off of Pushchinska, which is one of the main streets. And as far as I know, my favorite coffee shop, which is less than 200 meters away from my apartment, that has been shelled. So my neighbor who lives right behind me called saying, "Hey, do you know what the status is of our apartments?" Because he had actually escaped to, I believe, Austria. And I said, unfortunately, I have no idea. So there was probably a 50-50 chance that our apartment is okay, our homes are okay, but the other chance it has been damaged or even destroyed. So I wanted to go and see it, obviously, but it was so dangerous even just a few days ago, with the shelling every day, artillery fire every day, that I just knew I had to wait.
Well, that's probably puts another mission ahead of us. I am looking forward to come back to Ukraine very soon after our event is finished here in Croatia. And also I feel it's important to travel to the east of Ukraine to see with your own eyes what's happening there, to deliver this message even to my peers in the west, in Lviv, which is functioning normally since the first day of the war, but also check out your apartment, right? And to document things down there in order to have more clear perspective of all the events in Ukraine. I think we did pretty nice interview, guys. If you really found something interesting, important, please put like. Don't forget to subscribe on Journey channel, on mine if you didn't do so. And if you have any thoughts on this Ukrainian perspective, you want to comment on anything we just mentioned, please welcome to join the comments below. We are open for a healthy discussion, and we will do this until Ukraine will win this war. So Johnny, do you remember how to tell Ukraine will win in Ukrainian?
Ukraina
переможе.
переможе.
Ukraina
переможе.
переможе. Good luck and stay safe, guys.